Hey everyone, and welcome to the second video of my 3 video tutorial on multipass rendering in Cinema 4D. My name is Vaibhav Kotak and I'm here for CG Tuts Plus. Now in this video we're going to be taking a look at the external compositing tag and the compositing tag and what they have to offer to enhance our renders and or help us with compositing in this case After Effects. In other cases, any other program that you might use. Before we get into that though, I want to take a quick look at how you can import your render into After Effects. So what you would have to do is double click in the project window and you'll be shown with this dialog box. And let me just shorten it a bit. And you should navigate to the folder that you've saved all of your renders in, and you should see a .aec file. Go ahead and click on it and click open. And just wait for it to load, and you should have under your file name .c4d you should have a composition, and it should have everything ready for you to go. It's all set up. The transfer modes are all set up, and everything is ready to go, and you can start compositing from here on out. So that's how you would import everything. And now let's go ahead and take a look at the compositing tags and what they can do for our renders. So here I am in Cinema 4D, and the first thing I'm going to show you is the external compositing tag. You have two choices with the external compositing tag, and those are solids or nulls. So first let me add an external compositing tag to an object. For this one, I'm going to go ahead and choose my TV, and I'm going to choose my cube 1. I'm going to go under tags, Cinema 4D tags, and external compositing. I'm going to move that over to the right side just so that everything else lines up. I like everything organized as best as it can be. Now here's our external compositing tag, and you have if you have just this tag applied to an object, then what it's going to do is it's going to export a null in your .aec file, the compositing file, and the null is going to sit on the anchor point of this object, and it's I think it's going to be sitting right there, so on the anchor point, and it's just going to be a null. It can be used to track stuff. So if you have an airplane, for an example, and it's flying through a sky, and you have footage of a camera panning, then you can attach this external compositing tag to the airplane, the back of the airplane, and if the anchor point is there, then it's gonna track obviously the motion of that anchor point from a point to a point in your render. It's gonna export the data in the .aec file, and then you can add, say, particular, and join the two positions together, and you would be good to go. So you wouldn't have to do any tracking if you have this tag that you can use for nulls. And you have another choice, which is a solid. And to export it as solid, all you have to do is check the solid checkbox, and then define the size X and size Y, and then quite possibly the color. So, I wanted it to be blue. There we go. For the solid, you're going to have the anchor point of the solid can be chosen to be in the center, or top left, right, bottom left, right, whatever you fancy. So the anchor point of the solid is going to be this anchor point. and you can choose where that anchor point rests in relation to the solid. So right now it's going to be in the center, so it's going to be the solid's going to be sitting right in the center over here. If it's in the say bottom left corner, then it's going to be the solid's going to be along over on this side, and so on and so forth, right? And the use of a solid would be to, if you want to replace the texture of one object with another, you can export the object as a solid. If it's a flat surface only, mark that, because it's only gonna it's not gonna adhere to the surface of an object. It's just gonna take the anchor point of an object and make a solid from that anchor point. It's not gonna do anything else. So if you have a flat object, then you can change the texture, and I'll be showing you how, but that's what happens. And of course you need the right size X and size Y, and I'll be showing you that later. First, well, I suppose it would be better to show it first compared to later. I guess so. So if you want to find out the width and the height of an object in Cinema 4D, but it's not a primitive. If you look at my cube, it's not a primitive, so I have no way of knowing exactly just by looking at its properties what the dimensions of the cube are, or the namesake as a cube. I mean, it's not exactly a cube, but I don't have a way of knowing that just by looking at the properties. So what I'm going to do is going to hide everything except base TV. There we go. So now I have my cube. There we go. Now I have my cube, and I can be selected, and there. Now I can see it as well. Except for the fact that I have to hide everything else. It's easier to hide everything else and just look at the object that you want to measure. So I have my cube isolated now, and to find out its measurements, first there's a given. I know that the y-axis divides it perfectly into two parts, and so does the z-axis, if you can see here. I know that for a fact, and so I can go under Functions, Measure and Construction, and it's going to take me from the origin up. So if I go anywhere near the edge, it's going to snap to the point, and then it's going to give me the measurement of. First I have to look. Okay, the measurement tool works in 2 points. All right, so the first point is right now it should be 0, 0, 0. And the second point I can make 0, 0, 0 as well. Although I guess that won't work. Alright. So now the I guess it won't change the position. Well, since we're only looking at the y and the z axis, right now the x value of these points is of no consequence. All you have to do is take a look at the y and the z, and you have to make sure that they're both 0, 0. That way you know for a fact that it's centered on your plane, and then all I have to do is click over here, snap to this edge, and it snaps, and then it gives me a measurement. So I can control point 1 by clicking anywhere, and point 2 is controlled is just controlled over here. So if I take a measure of these two segments, I suppose, I get the measurement of 356.1. 356.1 multiplied by 2 would give me the height of this object. So that turns out to be 712.2. So I'll write that down. 712.2. So that's the height of my object. I also know for a fact that the y-axis divides it into two equal parts. So I can just take a look at this edge. It gives me the measurement of 726.1. I can double check by clicking over here and making sure that it's 726.1. And that gives me the measurement of 1452.2. So 1452.2. And now I have the measurements to make the solid. So if I go over here, I can say size y would be the size y. I have right now the y and the z axis showing. So right now I can say the y, the length along the y axis was 712.2. So because that's this height dash length. And then the size x would be in this case size z, and that would be 1452.2. And that'll be the horizontal measurement. And now if I just render this out, then what I'll if I just save the compositing project file, then what I'll end up with is this solid in the place. I can rotate it. So if I press R, now the orientation of this is automatically set to be keyframed, but I want to turn that off. So I'm just going to go ahead and turn that off. Click on the stopwatch to turn that off. Then I can rotate it in the what axis? Not the z-axis. I believe the x-axis. Nope. Y-axis 90. So if I press, if I do 90 degrees in the y-axis, then I get my solid placed on my screen. After getting the solid in place of my screen, what I can do is take any image or video or a series of images such as this, and hold down Alt, take drag and drop that that image or sequence of images or video right on top of the layer that's named cube 1, which is my solid, and I have to let go and then let go of Alt, and it's gonna place in that solid for me, and what it's gonna do is replace it. So you'll notice that I retained all my tracking data, all the 3D data from that solid, but that solid got exchanged for this cracked ground thing. Now I can stretch this and make it seem like a footage of something cracked is playing on the TV. So that's the good thing about solids. You can replace any you can possibly replace any textures. You can add in video or photos where you would inside of After Effects, and plan that out in Cinema so that you don't have to do any fancy tracking or anything. And now the next part of the external compositing tag is the nulls, and I saved this for later because it kind of ties in with the compositing tag. So what the external compositing tag in null mode does is it creates nulls at the points where it was told to create nulls at. To set that up, all I had was created two nulls, flare 1 and flare 2, and placed them wherever I wanted them in relation to everything else. And I applied the tags, Cinema 4D tags, external compositing, and that's all I did. I then saved the compositing project file. They got exported as nulls, and here they are. What I can do now is add a solid. So let me go ahead and hide my image for right now. And what I'll do is create a solid, new solid. Just say OK. I'll say effect, video copilot, optical flares. It's gonna open up. And then what I can do is switch the source type to 3D. I can do on transparent. And there I have my lens flare, which I originally planned. And to insert my flare into my scene, I would have to do tracking if it weren't for my nulls. What I can do is I can take my position X and position Y for this. So if I do take my first flare, say position, and then I'll take my black solid, say effect, and then bring those out, and link the position X and Y to position, and position Z also to position, and I'll end up with my flare in the right place. So I'll just go ahead and do that real quick, and I'll be right back. And there it is. I just went ahead and linked the two positions, and if I press Ctrl-Shift-H, I can hide my nulls and see that my lens flare is right there. Now I can make it bigger, increase the brightness, scale maybe a little, brightness turn down, and there's my flare. I can go around and see what it looks like. There's an obvious flaw, a blatant flaw, that I can see my flare null over here is behind my TV. So if I look over here, I really can't control it with my Wacom real well, but you can see that it's on the back, right? The flare null is behind my TV, while in After Effects it doesn't really make a difference. You know, it's not a 3D world, it's a 2.5D world, so it doesn't really take in all that information. And it turns out that the flare is in front of the TV. Turns out to be in front of the TV. So the first thing I'd like to say is the nulls can really just be used for tracking, like I did over here. And the second, the problem with 2.5D objects interacting with the flat 3D world, such as the one I've rendered out, can be kind of fine-tuned. Their interaction can be fine-tuned using the compositing tag, right? So this is where it ties in. The flare right now is in front of it seems to be in front of the TV, and to take it out I would have to mask my TV out and duplicate it and all that good very tedious stuff. Not exactly good stuff. It's very tedious, and it's every compositor's nightmare. Some people have to do it, but when you're working in 3D in Cinema 4D, you have the option to add a luma mask to your render. Let me show you how you can do that. So let me just turn on my camera right now, and what I want to do is just create a luma mat for my TV. So I have my set, and that's my whole TV. And what I would want to do is go into tags, Cinema 4D tags, and compositing. Then I would like to go to object buffer and just enable one of them, and mark the buffer number. Then I would go into my render settings, go to multipass, and add an object buffer, and make sure that this number is the same as my object buffer number over on my compositing tag. And when I render that out, I end up with, in the special passes folder, this render. So if I bring that in here, I end up with this render added to my render. This image is added to my render. Now, what I can use this for is I can take all my lights and reflections and put them in one pre-comp, and take the pre-comp and use the track mat function and say track mat luma mat multipass object 1. And then I can put both of these in front of my flare, or just put my black solid underneath it, and then I can take my pre-comp, Control C, Control V to paste it. I can put it over here, and I can say do not track mat, and there's my floor. So now you can see the lens flare is actually behind the TV. So if you didn't catch that, because I feel I might have gone too fast, I might have gone through this too fast, add the compositing tag, make sure the buffer number is right, look at the group ID in multipass, object buffer, make sure it's the same, go into your render in After Effects, check out the special passes folder, take out the one that looks like that looks black and white, add that to your timeline, and use your base layers as you take your base layers, pre-comp them, and then luma mat them to your multipass object 1 render. Here's another reason why I like, I might have mentioned this in the first video, I like taking out a single pass out of a multipass, so the multipass RGB, so it's just basically the whole image. And I like doing that because I can now add it to, I believe it should be here, maybe I hadn't added it, but instead of adding my pre-comp, I could have added my base layer, and that way I wouldn't have to worry about anything, just being there, it would help with that. I can bring back the floor that way instead of using my pre-comp layer once more. I do notice that there's no ambient occlusion added to this, so I can take my ambient occlusion, put it as multiply, just basic stuff. And so that's the use of compositing and external compositing tags. External compositing as solids can be used to replace textures on flat surfaces, and the null mode for external compositing tag and the compositing tag can be used together to create some very powerful graphics that you don't have to work very hard for, if you noticed. If we were to do this whole process by hand, all of the tracking, all of the fixing positions, and all of the masking, it would take possibly hours. But you can add the tags and they would be rendered out ready for you to go in your compositing project file. And I believe that ends our second video. The next video I'll be going over some real simple things that you can do in After Effects to enhance your render. Some of you probably won't need to watch this. If you're a beginner, I say just go ahead and watch it anyway. It's not that big of a deal, and maybe you'll find some tips. So I'll see you guys in there.